Welcome to another episode of SMAB Clips, your audiovisual learning platform presented by the Sport Management Academy by Roth. This video is all about value creation. But what exactly is that? Well, in business, value creation can be described as a company's contribution to the net domestic product. For example, a company generates amount X per year in country Y, and part of this amount is then paid out as wages to employees, part as profits to investors, or put into the reserves. This type of value is purely financial. But is there another value or other values in the provision of services that go beyond the financial? And how exactly is this value created? The so-called value configurations describe the way in which value is generated as part of the provision of services and what activities are central to the value creation. These value configurations related to service companies are one research subject of Professor Woratschek and his research partners in numerous publications, which you can find in the description of this video and should definitely read in order to delve deeper into the matter. But first of all, let's go to the basics. In total, there are 3 established approaches in research and practice to describe the value configurations. And these are the value chain, the value network, and the value shop. All 3 approaches have something in common. There is a distinction between primary activities which are directly involved in value creation and secondary activities which are not directly involved. Secondary activities, however, contribute indirectly to value creation. This includes, for example, tools, information, technology, or personnel. These secondary activities are almost identical in all configurations, but there are significant differences in the value creation logic in relation to primary activities. Therefore, when analyzing the value creation of a company, it makes sense to focus in particular on its contributions to value creation and not to consider the financial value as the ultimate. Well, that was now a small appetizer, a quick warm-up, so fasten your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen, because now it really starts. Let's take a closer look. The value chain goes back to Porter and was made public in the mid-80s. At that time, it came like a thunderclap and was celebrated strongly. It represents the most well-known value configuration and outlines all strategic activities of a company. The value chain serves as the basis for the analysis of individual relevant activities or the entire value creation process of a company. And do not be confused. Although it reflects in particular the value creation logic of industrial companies through the production of economic goods, the value chain is also often used for service companies. As you can see on the graphic, there are 2 levels. The primary activities include all activities that directly contribute to value creation. They are sequential. This means that they are arranged in chronological order and range from inbound logistics to the transformation of resources, to sales and the downstream customer service. Through the recurring exercise of sequential activities, learning effects and increases in efficiency can be achieved, which ultimately leads to cost reductions. The secondary supportive activities are not directly involved in the value creation but contribute indirectly to this by providing information, tools, technologies and elementary company-wide functions. They create important prerequisites for the execution of the primary activities and are carried out in parallel. Ultimately, the value creation of a company corresponds to the profit margin that results when the costs incurred from the customer's perspective are deducted, here shown in the arrowhead. If you now want to do a value creation analysis based on this value chain, simply divide the company into the strategically relevant activities, optimize them, and whoosh, you have a competitive advantage. Cool, isn't it? Well, it's not that simple, especially not in the service sector.
Doesn't anyone think of the non-producing companies?
This was the justified criticism and demand for further development. And suddenly, two gentlemen named Stubble and Fjellstad came and developed two further basic value configurations in 1998. So, curtain up for the value shop. The attentive viewer will quickly notice that the primary activities differ significantly from those in the value chain. This configuration represents the individual solutions to customer problems that is a widespread approach among service companies. It is important that these are individual problem solutions and not standardized ones. The high degree of individuality and the high importance of integrating the customer as an external factor in the provision of services mean that the primary activities here do not follow a standardized sequential process. Rather, individual activities have to be customized and carried out iteratively, this means repetitively and solution-oriented. So, the primary activities are initially characterized by the acquisition and problem-finding phases. The reputation of a company is a key success factor when it comes to acquisition, hence the representation as a wheel. If the tire of the wheel has a lot of air, it is easier to overcome bumpy roads. The reputation absorbs crisis, so to speak. Understanding the customer's language is central to problem solving. The service provider's ability to emphasize is crucial in determining whether the problems can be worked out together with the customer. Then the following takes place: the customer-specific determination of possible alternative solutions, the decision for one of these alternatives, and the final evaluation, which is checking whether a suitable solution has been implemented. If this shows that the measure carried out did not produce satisfactory results, the steps from problem determination to evaluation must be repeated. It is also important to understand that it is not the individual activities of the value shop that determine the value creation, but that it can be seen in the result of the problem solution. Solved problems usually mean satisfied customers, and that is the basis of a high reputation, good relationships, and thus a guarantee for the acquisition of new orders and new customers. And finally, there's the value network. The central corporate activity is to bring customers or other stakeholders together or act as an intermediary between them. The primary activities of the value network, therefore, result from the company's intermediation function, which consists of enabling relationships and interactions between the intermediary and the customers and between the customers themselves. Banks, telephone companies, or a wide variety of online platforms such as eBay or Facebook are listed as examples of companies that follow the logic of the value network. First, a primary activity is the network promotion, which consists in particular of marketing the network and contract management. Here it is important to get the right members on board and the right number of members. Network services are also provided, which primarily include activities for establishing, maintaining, and terminating contacts. Finally, under the third primary activity, the network infrastructure, both the hard and the soft infrastructure have to be provided. The hard infrastructure includes, for example, the entire technical equipment. The soft infrastructure includes all rules and standards of the value network, such as the rule that 3 points are awarded today for a win in football instead of only 2 points, as it was before. The result is a more offensive game and adds value to the audience. Incidentally, all three activities of the network must take place simultaneously, so that the actors can interact with each other smoothly. It is also important to know that there is a large overlap between the activities, so that neither the beginning nor the end of the value creation process can be exactly defined. The supporting activities also run simultaneously and essentially correspond to those of the value chain and the value shop. As you can see, the three value configurations presented are well suited for the analysis and optimization of business value creation processes. The value shop and value network are important extensions of the value chain, since they are better suited to describe the value creation in service companies. A clear and ideal typical classification of a certain configuration to a company is possible, but not always useful, because companies are often a conglomerate of several value configurations. However, a correct classification of the most important activities helps as a first orientation and prerequisite for the identification of management implications. Manufacturing companies can often be assigned to the value chain, individual problem solvers such as doctors or lawyers to the value shop, and social networks or online platforms to the value network. So once you take this perspective, you have a different understanding of service companies. You will see corresponding phenomena much better and sharper, and you can react faster than sleepyheads. While others doze off, you can specifically analyze and optimize processes, give recommendations for action, and identify relevant key figures. Sounds good, right? And now, don't forget to subscribe to this channel because learning pays off. See you next time. Goodbye.